Yama isti mitkidan Tihoyanayo Tihoyanayo.
This year marks 100 years since Indian Rights Association Secretary M.K. Sniffen conducted a preliminary investigation into the scandalous probate system attacking the Muskogee Creek, Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole tribes, known at the time as the Five Civilized Tribes. After weeks of additional study, the IRA's report, Oklahoma's Poor Rich Indians, put the corruption of Oklahoma's county courts and other officials and business people on full national display. Verified News Network and Lucinda Hickory Research Institute spent the summer touring archives located across the U.S., determined to find out more about the dark history Oklahoma and cities like Tulsa remain steadfast to suppress. Corrupt scheming conducted by elected officials and community leaders, many of whom are still celebrated today. Dirty money that funded Tulsa's buildings and infrastructure, the equivalent of billions of dollars taken from American Indian allottees, still flowing freely as generational wealth for non-natives, while generational trauma pummels tribal communities. The effects of which Darla Ashton, granddaughter of Millie Naharkey, experiences every day.
It was weird because you don't know as a child growing up what all that meant before, why she didn't speak, why she acted like she did, why she did what she did. So as a grown-up, you understand, and that's why it becomes painful.
Many tribal people continued to live communally after forced relocation to Oklahoma, despite a mandated allotment system. LHRI founder Tatiana Duncan, descendant of Dugabachi, researches Tulsa allotment-era crimes on both a professional and personal level. She says the transfer of jurisdiction over American Indian probate cases relating to their allotments from the Interior Department to local county courts in 1908 effectively declared open season for swindlers to prey on American Indians.
The local courthouses, the judges, the attorneys, local founding people of Tulsa were all involved in this conspiracy to defraud the American Indian of their possession. Many Indians lost not just wealth and land and heritage, but life as well.
The IRA's report states Indian children were left to die while their court-appointed guardians withheld their possessions. Others were kidnapped, liquored up, and even raped for their property. The Millie Naharkey case is one of the most prominent of the latter, mentioned in the IRA's report on pages 23 through 26. Within the walls of the Historical Society of Pennsylvania, Duncan discovered Naharkey's harrowing case file is more than 100 pages long, held with other records of the IRA's probate investigation. Naharkey was forced to attend Chilocco Indian boarding school from 1920 to 1922. The summer she would turn 18, she returned from Chilocco to find out she was incredibly wealthy through the discovery of oil on her property. She was kidnapped shortly after in a sinister plot concocted by the Gladys Bell Oil Company, led by company president Grant Stebbins, aimed at keeping her away from other oil companies until she became a legal adult and could be forced to sign over her property and rights to them. Stebbins hired Naharkey's half-brother Foxy Red and Tulsa oilman A.B. Reese to help take her away. The company hired W.R. McNutt, a Norman University student, to be the chauffeur. Under the guise of vacationing in the Ozark Mountains, Naharkey, still a child, was now a victim of kidnapping, forced to drink alcohol to the point of sickness, and bear witness to drunken sex parties in the woods. And that wasn't the worst of it. While being held in a cottage in the woods, Millie said McNutt raped her and threatened to kill her if she didn't cooperate, causing her to be hurt and bleeding night after night. He stayed until he went back to his room before daylight, Naharkey said. After that, he came in my room every night. Indian Service investigator Thomas Roach eventually tracked Naharkey down and brought her back to Oklahoma. Reese and McNutt were arrested for kidnapping.
She was introduced to things no young person and most adults shouldn't be introduced to. And in the end, nothing was really done. No justice was served.
Naharki survived the kidnapping and rape, but the guardianship battle over her money and land was a lifelong one. After fighting for her own wealth most of her life, Naharki ultimately died poor and in poor health. Ashton says she'd like to think if her grandmother had been born today, she would have experienced more protection and justice, but she really isn't sure.
I think we all need to open our eyes a little bit more and be a little more honest. I think Tulsa needs to be a little more honest, not the people themselves, because they're open. They listen. It's the people above who run things that shut us down, and maybe that's the issue. The people want to listen. It's the people above that don't.